Every time you play Tomb Raider 3 and you hear this wonderful sound, it means you just collected a crystal. In today's video, we're gonna talk about them, especially the hardest ones in the game. In the OG version, those crystals were actually really useful depending on the platform you were playing on. If you were playing on PlayStation 1 version, those crystals were mandatory to save your game. If you were playing on PC version, the crystals behaved like small medipacks and therefore healed 50% of your health. In the remasters, they are only useful in the New Game Plus mode because they are the only way to save your game and to heal Lara. Now, let's see what are the hardest crystals in the game, either because they are hard to spot or hard to get. I might surprise a lot of people with number 10 because I chose the crystal at the very start of Coastal Village. As you know, there are two different routes to finish the level. Either you take the underground passage, or you make sure to pick up the underwater key in order to put it into the keyhole in the cabin. If you take this second path, then people might argue that this crystal is impossible to miss. But did you know that this crystal has actually a strange behavior? Because if you move Lara before collecting it, it might disappear in front of your eyes. The reason why is because there is a trigger next to it that deletes every active object in the map for memory optimization. So make sure to collect it before moving around. Number 9 is a crystal located in Antarctica. This level has a lot of places that are pretty well hidden and yet are not considered as secrets. You will be able to see one of those places at the very start of the level. Behind this kind of frozen window, you can spot a few items and a crystal ready to get collected. In order to get there, you will need to do some platforming, which I find pretty tedious and pretty hard, which is why I place this crystal number 9 on this list. Number 8 is a crystal in All Hallows, which is the bonus level of Tomb Raider 3 if you got all the 60 secrets available in the game. So first reason why this crystal is hard to get is because first you need to unlock this level. And then on the slope at the start, you need to do a jump twist in order to grab the edge, and then use the crack and shimmy to the left in order to get to the crystal. Otherwise, you're just gonna miss it. Number 7 is a crystal in Area 51. Area 51 is a level where you will find a lot of guards, and you need to kill them before they press a button that will lock some places. For example, at the start of the level, if you don't kill the first guard, then he will lock the place where you can pick up the MP5. And then, the second guard that you will see, he will trigger some lasers. The third one, as you can see right now, will lock another place where you can find another weapon, the harpoon gun. Well, if you don't kill this other guard here in time, before he presses the button, then he will close a door which gives you access to the first secret of Area 51, which has a crystal in it. So you want to kill this guy in time, or you want to remain stealthy so you get unnoticed, because as you can see, if he presses the button, you won't have access to this crystal, and there's no way back. For number 6, we're gonna stay in Area 51, and we're gonna go to the end of the level, where you need to put a disc into a machine that opens multiple doors. If you go through one of these doors, you'll be able to see an aquarium with some orcas, but also with a crystal inside it. So the question is, how do you actually get there? Well, in order to do so, you need to do some backtracking and go back to where you found the card that helped you launching the rocket. Eventually, you will be able to spot a door that just opened itself, and this is actually the last secret of this level. You need to dodge a few lasers, and then you'll be able to go into the aquarium, and you'll be able to take the crystal inside it. For number 5, we're gonna go to a level that a lot of players hate because of its complexity. That would be Aldwych. In this level, we can find a red room with a lot of boxes that we need to visit multiple times during the level. Well, the first time you go into this room, you actually need to slide on a slope, and then you have to do an insane sequence to dodge a drill coming out of the ceiling. Well, this is where the crystal can be found, and you need to do exactly what I just did in order to take it. This is actually the first secret of Aldwych, and you can find, in addition of the crystal, an MP5. Let's move on to number 4, that is a crystal hidden in Crash Site. Crash Site is a level where you have to pick up 2 keys that fit in 2 keyholes in a plane. After collecting those 2 keys, actually there is one that is guarded by a T-Rex, you have to climb on the plane in order to put them into the 2 keyholes. Well, the dev intended way to climb on the plane is actually really complex, and you have to go through a whole place that is completely unknown by most of the players. That part of the level, which by the way is completely useless since there are much easier way to climb on this plane, is really tedious and requires a lot of platforming, such as monkey bars or really slow shimmying. If you decide to go for this part of the level anyway, you will get rewarded by 1 crystal and even some oozy clips at the end of the passage. But yeah, is it really worth it to go for such a detour and 2 additional items when you know that you can climb on this plane instantly without doing this tedious part? Here is one of those ways. Our third hardest crystal in the game is located in City of Tinnos, the second to last level of Tomb Raider 3. City of Tinnos is probably the hardest level in the game, and at some point you have to pull a lever in a really complex room that opens a secret, and you have 2 minutes to reach the door of the secret before it closes out. So, in order to get this crystal, you're gonna have to do some backtracking, and you're gonna have to go really fast if you want to reach it before the door closes. So in my opinion, this is a really hard crystal, which is why I place it number 3. What makes it even harder is that on the way to the secret, you have to go through some burners, and you have to get the timing right, otherwise you're gonna get barbecued. As you can see, this crystal is not the only reward of the secret, since you have a double pickup underneath. Our runner-up is a crystal located in Gate, and more specifically, in the last secret of the level. Gate is a level that a lot of people hate because it's really long and also really tedious, especially because of the underwater maze that is at the end of the level. After visiting the museum, you're gonna end up in a room just before the water maze, where you have to remain stealthy if you want to get 2 extra crystals. Basically, what happens in this room is that if you get noticed by one of those 2 guys in the room, well, they're gonna close the door of the last secret and you won't be able to take the crystal. So what you have to do is to pull an underwater lever and then take a passage and crouching so you can stay unnoticed by those 2 guards. After a bit of platforming, you're gonna end up in a corridor where you're gonna have to fight a last guard. And then eventually, you will be able to dive into the water and get the secret, including this crystal. The winner of this list is actually a bunch of crystals. I couldn't decide myself between all the crystals in Madubu Gorge. So number 1 is the Crystal Fiesta that exists in this level. There are 9 crystals in total, and except a few ones, they are really hard to get. At the beginning of Madubu Gorge, if you take the route on the left, you will find 3 crystals that are relatively easy to get. But yeah, except those 3 crystals, the other ones are really hard to get. The 2 first ones that we're gonna mention are ones that require for you to paddle with a kayak against the current. Although it's pretty easy to do that with the modern controls on the remasters, it was a nightmare in the OG version of the game. One of those crystals is located in one of the secrets of the level, and the other one is one you can find after boarding the kayak. If you want to get all the 9 crystals in this level, you will have to do a trick from here. You will have to paddle on the waterfall, and then you will have to exit the kayak and do some backtrack to go back to the first kayak that is mandatory to get the 6th crystal. Now, let's talk about the 3 hardest crystals in the game that are located in Madubu. Well, the first one is located in the first secret. Once you've taken the monkey bar and then you slide the slope, which by the way is really hard because you need to time the jump really precisely, you will face a crystal and you will be like, oh nice, there is a crystal in front of me, so I can land on this platform and just take it. Well, if you do that, you're gonna get barbecued. So what you want to do with this crystal is actually jump over the platform and grab the next one, so you will be safe. The second hardest crystal in Madubu is one that you need to trigger thanks to the kayak. This crystal will appear only if you hit a green rope with the kayak at some point of the level. It's only after hitting the green rope that the crystal will spawn on this platform. And it's only a few minutes later, once you've parked the kayak and done some platforming, that you will be able to collect it. If you drove the kayak in another place and didn't hit this rope, it will be impossible for you to even realize that you missed something because the crystal simply won't be there. Now, let's move on to the actual hardest crystal in the game, in my opinion. This crystal that you just saw in the waterfall is by far the meanest one in the whole game. Even when you know its location, it's so hard to get it because it's so hard to control the kayak and to line up with it. Of course, backtracking on the waterfall is impossible because the current is too strong. So if you missed it, you won't be able to get it again. So yeah, I'll let you imagine how hard it is to get it first try when you don't know its location and you go for this waterfall for the first time. So that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you liked it, or if you have any suggestions about a crystal that I forgot to mention in this list.